Hello, thank you, all of you who are here to see my presentation. We're going to talk today about UMANIMATION. So UMANIMATIon, we're a transmedia company. It means we're developing IPs, intellectual properties, and we're developing it in the transmedia way, which I'm going to explain today. So firstly, UMANIMATION means umami plus animation. Umami, the fifth taste in Japanese, and it's a mix of salted, bitter, sugar, and acid, and it creates a new taste. And this is what we are doing with the company and with transmedia. We are working on many devices, elements, and platforms to create a new way of content. But first of all, here's our demo reel.
There are monsters in my bed. I can hear them in my head. I take the light off a single breath, a single call. There are monsters in my bed. I can hear them in my head. Take the light off a single breath, a single call. There are monsters in my bed. I can hear them in my head. They shut the light up, a single breath, a single call. When they show up to get me raw, to me into pieces with the clouds. To get me raw, to me into pieces with the clouds. To get me raw, to me into pieces with the clouds. To get me raw, to me into pieces with the clouds. To get me raw, to me into pieces with the clouds. To get me raw, to me into pieces with the clouds. To get me raw, to me into pieces with the clouds. To get me raw, to me into pieces with the clouds.
So the vision here is that, like Raphael was doing it in his the school of Athens in 16th century, talking about the Renaissance, it's like philosophy and mathematics and the culture in general have to meet together. This is what is done in the school of Athens, and this is the vision of what we need to link today. It's technology and culture and art. The second vision is like interactivity and XR in general has never been is the new stuff. Nothing has been as excited as this since the creation of the cinema. And here's the first film, the train entry in the La Ciotat station from the Lumiere brothers. And also that when you do tech, you're not really good at content. But when you do content, you're not really good at tech. But you have to do both today to create interactive storytelling. And this is what we are doing here. So we do this by the green part is that we create our own IPs in-house. with designers, with creators. Then we made them, we produced them. This is the red. We have studio. We're 16 permanents, but we are a team around 30 today. We really can deliver, and we delivered our first game, Dordogne, on multi-platforms last June. And we're also the part where we do tech, and we develop the tools that we don't have. Most of them have to be between animation and video games, and so we create what we don't have already. We do this with a game engine. This is everything that we do has to work inside the game engine, whether it is animation or video game, of course, which is very obvious for video games. But we use the same assets for all the platforms, and that it's one step ahead. Next to do, whether it is VR or the mobile games or whatever. This is our type of production. The industry works when you do animation. You have 30% of the budget that goes to pre-production, and it's the same for video game, and it's the same for other platforms. What we do here, we have just one unique pre-production process, and we use all the assets that we made once for the other platforms. So it's at least a 30% economy on time, budget, and of course carbon footprints on the other platforms. To help us on that, we are developing our in-house artificial intelligence generative based on the work of art of an author, and then translate it into 3D modeling directly inside the engine. So this is what we do every day as a team, but we are going to synthesize this into that AI who's going to help us produce way more faster and very much more wider games and wider contents. Regarding the competition, there's other studios, other French studios that do great content and great narrative content, but they don't do animation. We do. There are other companies that use video games technique to produce animation. They do. This is what we do too. But they don't do video games. We do. There's also, regarding VR, there can have a more, although all these companies are wonderful and they do great content that I love, it's a way to compare. Still about the company, we have been selected by the accelerator GTR in 2021, and that was a great step for us because we've been able to contact publishers and investors too. We were also in the Spielfabrik accelerating program on the European scale. A bit about the market, the video game market. Let's just remind that it's $184 billion US dollars market. It's just huge. Where we are at, it's 8% of this market, which is on adventure games, which is about 16 billion, which is already huge, and also a bit on the animation market, which is also obviously great. What we work is, we have one company, but we work with brands that we own. So Agent C'est Quoi is the brand, it's the name of the studio. It's our studio for state-of-art into interactivity, animation, and into graphics and literary approach. UMANIMATION, it's much more for the new media stuff, AR, VR, XR. MEET&BUILD is when we work with the industry. We've been doing training for workers on security matters for buildings, for instance. And Narrative is the platform that we are developing for narrative interactive gaming. To tell you a bit more about me, I studied in music. I've been experienced 15 years in animation. I produced mainly a TV series named Bascup about the basketball tourney player. It was 52 half hours with Benny J, co-produced with Benny J and with M6 and Disney. And I'm also a founding member of PAIXEN, which is the National French Association for New Medias. And to talk you a bit more about Cedric, my partner, he's been director in animation for the past 17 years. He created the game Dordogne. He received a Cannes Cannes Award for his short film Imago. He's been selected, shortlisted to Oscars, and he received an Emmy Award. He was also Rintaro's famous Japanese director assistant when working in Madhouse. And he worked on many transmedia platforms, whether it is video games, animation, and comic books. And the works are among this list. To talk about our team, we are very well organized, with head of licensing, head of production, of course, head of PR marketing, head of techniques, CTO, of course, and of course, lead game design, and financial, HR, narrative design, and of course, legal. And now, after having talked about the company, let's talk about how do we do really things. How do we do this transmedia approach on properties? It's a cocktail of story, art, and gameplay. We mixed those things with those three ingredients. We create our new IPs. So let's talk about the very first we worked on. It was in 2018, sorry, and it was with Arte. And we started by an animated TV series, and we worked then on an augmented reality app, and now we are doing the video game. We are pre-production on developing the video game. Which is important here to see is that we work with authors, with writers, with designers. It's their universe that we translate. We are good in this translation of words. So this is Gangpol and Meet. Please meet them. They're crazy guys who have developed a lot of ways of explaining their universe through expos, through concerts, through installations, through books, through workshops that they do with Samsung in South Korea. And so this is what we did with them. So as you can see, it's pretty crazy, and so everything has been developed into the video game engine Unity, and then with the same assets, we were able to develop an AR app, which is a pre-development stuff, just to show and demonstrate that we can go on multi-platform thanks to the elements we developed, and it's exactly what we are doing now for the video game. So we are developing many IPs. So Globozone was the first, and so we have like a catalog of different content. Now let's talk about Cedric Babouche, my partner, but as an author, as a creator, because beyond being chief content officer of the company, he also writes and creates content. So he has a specialty that he paints since he's 14, and so he really developed his own way of painting in watercolor. And since he's been in the industry for now many years, and he's been working on digital animation, on 2D animation, 3D animation, and VFX, so he acquired different techniques to produce animation, and he turned everything into using his ability to do watercolor, to 3D modeling, 2D animation, and doing a great mix about with this. And so one day he came with this, and we were like, okay, it's good. It's fun. We should make something. And this is how started Dordogne. So Dordogne is our first game. We released it in June 2023. We've been released it on every platforms: PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and Switch, and PC. And this we did everything in house in our studio with our team. It's important to say. So this is the video game, but we are working on a short animated film that is going to be released in mid 2024, and we're also going to release a comic book with the famous Belgian publisher, which is Dupuis. And this is to show how we work the IP in transmedia, and of course music, vinyl, and also special edition for the game. So in case you haven't seen it, here's it.
What is your first memory? Mine is somewhere in the last few months before my 13th birthday. This is... wow! Nice!
We'll have fun, the two of us.
Whoa! Look at me.
Don't worry, I'm fine!
Excited to explore the world. And like a bad dream, I can't seem to move on.
Where are you going?
To play outside with a friend.
A lot happened that day.
And you haven't seen anything yet. A giant dragon that sleeps at the bottom of the Dordogne.
What a journey it was. The market, the people, the river, the pebbles, the cold, cold water. The Dordogne.
So this is how Dordogne has been received worldwide. We had great press. We had great reviews, and we are really happy about it. And to tell you more about the story, if Dordogne tells the story of Mimi, who's going to empty her grandmother's house, who just passed away, and she's going to live again all her childhood memories, the short film is going to say how the grandmother arrived in Dordogne 40 years ago, and the comic book is going to talk about a secondary character in the game. So the idea is not to tell the same story on various platforms. It's to say various chapters of the big story on the platform that fits the most. It's very important, and it's completely now in our DNA and the way we work and the way we create communities around our work. So this is our next project. Sorry, I can't tell you a lot because we are actually developing it now, and moreover, we are pitching it to publishers. All that I can say that is going to be around time traveling, and we're in discussion, and we have great prototype by mid November. And all I can say also is that this next game, which will be released, let's say, by the end of 2025 and early 2026, will have 6 months later a release of an animated feature film, because this is what we're working on the transmedia approach, and we're in discussion with distributors. And of course a comic book with the same publisher who's going to tell another chapter of that big story. Let's talk about another project of ours, which is a VR project. Here is also to show our vision and how do we work to create those transmedia IPs. So the story basically is. So it's Thomas Merritt's Cabinet of Curiosities. The idea that Thomas Merritt is the best explorer of the 23rd century, and of course he gathered many things into his Cabinet of Curiosities, like rocks, like animals, monster stuff, but this Thomas Merritt's gone missing, and all we know is that his spaceship has come back docking on Mars on the dock, and you have access to his cabinet of curiosities, and you are going to work inside this cabinet of curiosities to find Thomas Merritt's coordinates, and then you will meet it, and then it will be the next of the game. Today we have a VR prototype, and we're in discussion with the Sony PlayStation for instance. And how do we made it? Same concept. We're working with authors. So here's Laurent Casey, literary author of the project. He already worked on many projects and sci-fi projects too. He's a specialist of Philip K. Dick. And regarding art, we work with Gilles Warmores, who was also a very, let's say, a sci-fi approach. Sci-fi, but also, let's say, a 50s and 60s approach, which gives a lot of charm into the graphic development of the process. So we worked as if we were making a movie. We do graphic research on the spaceship, on also all the different elements that has been gathered into the cabinet of curiosities, and robots that you have inside, but also skulls of different animals. And so, you know, the level of research that we need to do and we have to do as if to create that big story, to be coherent on every side of that big story. And this is the cockpit of the spaceship. And once again, so this is an example of the prototype. The prototype is to show how we've been translating the concept and the graphic design that has been developed by Gilles. How did we translate it into a 3D environment? And that's important to say. You know, that we are between art and tech, and working on tech is also to work with the authors, and so be able to create all these things. And one other project that comes next. Same thing. It's to work the IP in a transmedia approach. Is about Shangri-La, which is a comic book, a worldwide comic book success from Mathieu Bablé, and it tells the story of all the humanity has finally completely destroyed the earth, and everyone is going to find the best new planet. All the humanity is in a spaceship, and things are not happening the way they should happen. So we negotiate the rights to use the comic book at the editor, which is Ankama, which is a bit different of how we work usually, because we create our own IPs. But this time it was to create a new branch of transmedia, which is, I mean, quite original. So we needed to work on an existing IP, and so this is the book. The idea was to work on an immersive music show, and for this we're working with the Collectif Hors Normes, which is a company based in Poitiers in France. And we are in co-production with them. So the idea was to take the images of the comic book and to put it in scenography, in an immersive scenography, where you are surrounded by giant screens with the musicians playing at each corner. And we did it, and it's an amazing experience where we are completely inside the comic book, and it's a really amazing approach to see an IP, a story because IP is very juridic term, legal term, but you are inside the story, and it's a way to live inside the story from a not so complicated approach. It's just 4 screens and 4 projectors and musicians. So, and this is to explain also the level of work that we've put inside the comic book. We did not turn the comic book into animation, but we animated some stuff just to have it living a bit, because otherwise it would be too complicated to transform it into animation. And it's a great experience, and of course we intend to use that way of having a story outside the screen for other of our projects. And so here's a small video about the concept. So I think now you have a better approach on what we do on transmedia, and so this is about our roadmap, about how we intend to release and how we're going to release the project, and we are also raising funds right now as a pre-series A, and then we'll go to series A and series B, but in the right amount of time to grow, actually. So thank you very much. Thank you for attending the presentation.
Congratulations, that was very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. First question, before asking the public if they have questions. I'm sure you have some questions, the public. Okay, first, why transmedia and no cross-media?
The idea is that we have the transmedia approach where we have that big story and we take chapters of that big story that we put on the platform that fits the most. For instance, for Dordogne, it's we play Mimi, who is going to empty her grandmother's house, but the short film is a prequel and is going to tell how the grandmother arrived in Dordogne. And the comic book is another part of the story, it's a secondary character. Cross media is just the same story, and you watch the film, and then you play the same story and the same elements in the video game. And I don't think there's much this is not there can be interest, but for us as a small company growing, I think that the best for us is to create communities around our stories, and every time they want to connect with our universe and our stories, they will have another chunk that can be watched or played separately from the others. But if they start entertaining with the other elements, they will learn way more about the big story, and then they will like to know more. And I think this is what is going to make us grow.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now for the public, do you have any question?
Hello, Aymeric. Thank you for the presentation. It was super nice. I have a small question, because you mentioned that the linking element is basically the game engine, because you do all these different type of media, but it's always through the engine. But when I see the variety of the project between musical show, cartoon, VR experience, games, animation, what's your strategy internally for the staffing? Like, what are the people that you keep for all the projects? Because I guess you have so many of them, so it can be hard to have for each project the right people at the right time. Because you also mentioned co-production and these elements, or do you work with a lot of freelancers or other companies to help you for one project or the other? Because you mentioned growing the company, so I'm curious, kind of in this transmedia and a lot of different type of project, how do you kind of envision that growth of staffing?
Today we're 16 internally people. For Dordogne, we worked also with freelancers and authors, and in the today experience of the studio, we are more around 30. And it's, let's say, a bit more than half of creatives, and the other half is for developers. And technically, since we have the same type of production for every elements, our team can work on many projects, because it's going to go on the same tools which are in Unity. So for the animation, this is the same. We work with Blender before. Before, you see what I mean, on 3D modeling, texturing, and everything. And then we go to the engine. And even for the musical show is a Unity engine with 4 digital cameras that are linked to the projectors. So technically, we can open any Unity scenes, and boom, it's going to happen on the screen directly. So this is also a lot of R&D and tech developments. But once it works, we earn a lot of time, and we can work on bigger projects with maybe a smaller team. However, we need to sometimes to do work for hire with companies, but on typical very precise elements. For instance, dubbing. We don't dub in-house. We work with studios for audio, and also we did in-house everything that is sound effects and integration of sound into the engine. We needed, of course, to record properly the voices, dubbing, and localization, and everything. And also, and it's way bigger part of the project, which is animation by itself. We worked with a studio to do motion captures for Dordogne. We will do, I think, half next, because sometime we need every time we need to have very keyframe animation, done by hand, and it's very important to have that very precise quality of it. So we did it in-house so far, but there's not a lot to animate compared to a TV series or a feature film. And we are now thinking of how we are going to grow by working with partners, because we've been in animation for a long time, so we know the studios. Even the studio owners are friends, so we know who to work with to have a great quality, or the quality we want. However, we maybe do both and maybe create our own animation studios. I did it personally many times, because every time you start a new TV series, you have to create your own new studio. So this is something I know what to do, and I did it in many countries. So yes, this is what we are thinking to as grow. But we need to keep this boutique approach, working on the IPs. Doing this, we don't need to be a lot, but we need to keep that first, because this is our DNA. And then we grow. Maybe we grow with others, or this is why we're raising funds too. It's to be able to grow properly.
Okay. You have a great success with Dordogne, and now you are nominated for the best 3D visual by Unity. And my question is, what is the most important thing you want player to feel or experience when playing your games?
The approach is it's really emotional. Is to feel the concept through story, gameplay, and art. That's those three elements connected that will bring the players into kind of emotional mode that you have when you are in front of something that is sought and prepared to be so. This is it's kind of a emotional state that you are like, oh, this is something. This is what we do with the umami. I mean, the umami in Japanese culture and Japanese food. I mean, you know it. This is it's more than a flavor. This is something that gives you don't know what it is. So in French we have this expression, and this is un je ne sais quoi. This un je ne sais quoi and this is why also the studio name is un je ne sais quoi. It is that un je ne sais quoi that you're like, okay, it's good. I don't know exactly why, but I like that. And this is what we're trying to create. And to talk about Unity, yes, we are selected for the best 3D graphics, and we are really happy. So please vote. Please vote for us because it's a vote. You can find it online on the Unity website for the Unity Awards, which are going to happen during Unite next month. So yes, we're really happy about this.
Yeah, it's it's very great. I wish you all the best wish for this this Unity contest. Is there any question left in the scene? Yeah.
Hello, Aymeric.
Hello, Sherry.
So I actually have a question regarding the game Dordogne. When you developed the IP, did you kind of came up with the target group as well, or did you just create the story and then the target group was secondary? And what is the target group? So 2 questions.
Yes, that's this is because the target group is quite big. It's quite big because we are aiming to have family contents. So family contents, it's a bit wide. So it's dangerous because being too wide is it's something complicated. But that's maybe the inconvenience of our DNA, because of course there's no cursing, violence, or whatever. So it's also proper for kids, but you have several layers of understanding into the project. But what we used to say, it was like it was for like 12 to 13 years old people. To say something, to be in that approach. But we've been very, very surprised by the success of Dordogne for kids. I mean, a lot of kids and the press, the Kids for Press, has been amazing with the game, and it's been suggested in a lot of papers. So we know that the content we make can work also for kids, which is quite new for video games, because video games are much more starting with teenagers, let's say this. And regarding animation, we tend also to have like a family approach. And for the Les Ricochets, which is going to be the short film animated about the prequel of Dordogne, it will be it's not going to be something especially for kids, but there will have nothing in it that's going to harm anyone anyway. And for the feature film of Long Time Ago, we have the same family approach, where you can go with kids. There's no harm, but the story is wide enough to understand what happened in that time-traveling adventure.
Right, lovely, thank you. And when that graphic novel is coming out about Mimi, I want that signed.
Of course.
Okay, is there any other question?
I was wondering about because I feel like also in the business model, the IP is something very strong, right? Because you're really building like a huge universe around this IP and developing many products around it. And you also mentioned that a lot of the IP you have come from the some artists, for example, for the sci-fi, for the blocky game at the start, or from your co-owner Cédric Babouche. And I was wondering, what is your strategy also in ownership of the IP? Because, for example, Cédric mentioned in the presentation that Focus is also owning a part of the IP, while they are purely a video game publisher. So I'm also wondering how they might help in the other media elements. And the same way also for co-production that you might do with other companies or even the artists themselves. What is kind of your philosophy in where is the IP owned and where do the revenue go alongside it?
Yes. So there are a lot of questions inside this. So first, regarding authors and companies, it's a cession of rights. I mean, this is the common process with company and authors. The authors create the content, and they it's not give the right word, but they sign with the company, and so they give the right to the company to use their creation. So that's the typical contract, and with that they get paid for it first, but then they get royalties. So this is how we work with authors, and the IP is owned by the studio. Of course, the authors receive royalties from the IP, but the IP is owned by the studio. This is how we develop things, and because it's I think the best approach to grow on a multimedia approach. What we did with Focus, it was very special, as we agreed to give half of the IP, because they told us that they were about to change their name from Focus Home Interactive to Focus Entertainment. So this is the direction for going to a transmedia approach, and especially in animation, because doing animation with video games is not the same since Arcane has been released, and it's been such a worldwide hit that other studios are saying, hey, why wouldn't I adapt my IP into animation, and why not blah, blah, blah. And personally thinks it's a good idea, of course. And I thank Arcane for having doing this and having done this. And for now, it's still a lot of work to explain them how does it work. And I know that we are special because we have a transmedia approach, but very technical also. We know how to produce animation with subsidies and public partners and distributors and everything, and it's very complicated stuff, and we know how to do it, but we have to explain also how does it work, and how do you have a return on investment also on it, which is very complicated. So far, we haven't found a way to work on the transmedia approach together, but I hope we'll find it. Anyway, we are working on it ourselves. I mean, we are working on this comic book. We are working on this short film, but we have the idea also of a TV series. So maybe this is where they could enter, and but that's something special. It was our first game, so we say, okay, why not? They intend to do it, so but we will maybe think twice for the next time. but this is also for how do we work? But and to answer the last part of a question about co-production, we do co-production for branches, special branches. I mean, we will not do co-production on the IP. We will do co-production on an animated feature film. Working, why not with Belgium studios? Because you have great animation studios here, and we could share the IP of the animation project together to raise financing from both sides of the border, France and Belgium. This could be something workable, but it will be on the part of the IP which is the animation, and maybe we will have special licensing contract regarding that special IP branch that we made together, and so, but that's life, that's legal, so there's a lawyer for that.
Okay, super. Thank you very much.
Okay. I will ask you a question. More, we are both here in the same industry, and you know There is a lot of students from different schools who attend the Meet and Build. Some are going to take a look on the stream. And my question is more personal this time: is why students have to try to do the same job as you? What is the motivation, and why they have to do this wonderful job that we are doing together?
Oh, it's it's a complicated question, because if it's technically my job, if you've done an art school, it won't be a lot of fun, but it's great. I mean, to produce, to be the origin of a concept, of a project, and then to see it alive. I mean, technically, Shangri-La, I read the comic book, and then they had that show. But there are so many stuff inside. But if I hadn't read that comic book, it wouldn't happen. But so many things happen. So that's amazing to see ideas growing. And then typically I mean, if they going to work in the 3D modeling or environment, or tech artists or developers, I think that's the industry is still growing, and so there's work, there's jobs. So also on a very pragmatic approach, I think they will have something to do, and then working in creation, I think, is a very good way of doing self-goodness. I mean, it's I'm missing the word in English, which is épanouissement in French. But I mean, it's fun that I'd never had to translate it in English. But
you know the word we see on your face. You are happy with the job you are doing.
Yes. Of course, I am. Yes, of course I am, and working with a wonderful team, and sometimes it's hard since the beginning to choose. You know very quickly with the people you're going to work with, and they're going to go on the quest to umami with us. I mean, that's because that's the idea. It's a quest to umami, to this little thing.
Thank you for this positive message, and thank you for your presentation, Aymeric.
Thank you.